Hello, friends. We're here with our post-show credit talk. We have our amazing friends from the Dragon Ball for Life podcast, Paul, Trav, Matt. I keep seeing Terry. Y'all don't
Terry.
know, but
Get
in
him,
our
Terry.
video chats,
Terry.
it says Terry instead, and I know it's wrong.
It's
It-
for the spam emails, you know.
no, it's fair. It's fair. Listen, y'all, you just went through a great story. Loved your characters and how you brought it to life. What was it like playing? What did you expect this? Was this the outcome you were thinking of? Especially since this was a two-parter, y'all had a week to think about how this was going to end.
That was crazy. Maddie, go
Yeah,
ahead, dude. I know
yeah. I
you
was
got
about to
thoughts.
say, because Paul, I know you had some prior D&D experience, so just going backwards to the Dragon Call that we did with you, Bex, which wasn't amazing. Go listen, everybody. You know? But when you were just kind of breaking down for us, just like how D&D works, and just like how you try to facilitate the experience for the adventurers, and me and Trav were just like over the moon with just how you played it out. Even that conversation didn't do what we just did justice, because that is high key, no exaggeration, one of the funnest things I've ever done in my life. So I'm very, very happy. My expectations were like superseded tenfold. That was awesome. That was super
Perfect.
awesome.
Y'all killed it. I love the creativity that you all had for each and every attack, like how you painted it. You saw the story. It just reminded me that you all are great storytellers. Like you've seen good stories, you recognize it, and you know how to come up with your own every time. It was so impressed. I just wanted to give the reins to you all and let it go. It was so good. So good. Chrono,
Because
I
we
know we
were best
pushed you
dungeon
a
master
little bit, quite a
ever.
bit with the story on the blood of the Toriyama clan. You came up with some very deep topics.
Yes, man.
Specifically, I don't think your story is over, obviously, as we never answered your question on purpose.
Yeah. So with his backstory, so we were in the chats and we were talking about why his hand was red, and
Mhm.
so Chrono's hand was red was because Zeno, he had the blood type Z, which is the rarest blood type of the Toriyama clan, and so in the backstory with Chrono in his final fight, which we found out against the Bird Brains that it was him and Chrono, and his friend wanted Chrono to keep the Toriyama clan from going extinct. So he was like, "Hey, go retreat. I'll take this." And Chrono knew that was just he was sacrificing himself. So when Chrono retreated, he couldn't just watch his friend die. So when he came back, it was too late. His friend was down on the battlefield, and when he went to pick him up, so with the Toriyama clan blood and blood type Z, if it hits the skin of another Toriyama clan member, it permanently stains their skin. So that's why his hand was permanently red. And so, but there was a lot more lore that we could have went into in terms of what Bare Bones people's connection was, but the way that story ended and how we were all able to defeat the monster at the end, I was able to, I got the vials of my homies, but there's still more people out there that I'm gonna avenge. But in this moment, when it comes to me and Bare Bones, me and Deacon, those are my people now. I gotta learn that some things I gotta hold in the past, but I'll move forward in the future. But if there's ever like a one-off for Chrono where he goes and tries to avenge the rest of his clan, that's
Mhm.
still
Hey,
that's still
man.
in his works. But nah,
Well,
for real
maybe
though,
the
like
commissioner could spare all three of you.
Look, I'm just saying, brother.
I say you have a crew now, bro. Just
yeah,
saying.
it could
You
be a
know,
moment where it's like Bare Bones, here's my story, and it's like, look, I don't represent my people. I think that what they did was wrong, and you know what, brother?
do we want to give them the story now? Do we want to tell like what where Bare Bones passed? Do we want to hold that? Do we want to
Up
hold
to
it for later?
you.
I mean,
Hey, we
Trav, I'll
here.
let you. All right, bet. So the backstory that we came up with for Bare Bones, which was reference to Trav. I loved how when I said the word pirate, you was a pirate. Like, what you mean
That
pirate?
was
Like,
awesome. Yeah,
part
that
that
was
part
really
was
cool.
And then
awesome.
you tried to tell him no. You liar.
Okay. I said procure of goods, procure of goods. But yes, but
Scallywag.
Bare Bones was a pirate, a dread pirate, and he basically didn't ask questions. If somebody needed a job done, he did it. So, and part of that was him and his crew were part of the purge of the Toriyama clan, somewhat unknowingly, because he pretty much was just like ferrying the Toriyama clan to the people who wanted their blood. But once he figured out what was going on, that's when he left that life and got away from it, and stumbled his way, falling through, I would like to say, what looks like South America in my head. I don't know why, but we're just stumbling through a lot of wild places and ended up at the settlement. And that's why he's so attached to Deacon, because he still feels so bad that he played a part in the extinction of the Toriyama clan. So he's looking for salvation. And of course he finds the one, drunkard John Stamos preacher who has lost his faith. So so it is. So they kind of develop like a symbiotic relationship where, I guess Barebones wanting that salvation kind of forces Deacon to kind of do the preacher thing. Again, we had jokingly said, like, think Mel Gibson from Signs. He needed an act of faith to kind of bring him back. So I would definitely love to explore that story moving forward, because Barebones might have information on like who people who paid him to ferry those Toriyama clan people to their death. So you might have that receipt list of my clientele from back in the day.
Might have to be another 2-shot.
Yep.
Sign me up.
That one probably sounds more like a 4 to 6 shot story.
Yeah.
We get one episode for y'all to like flesh it out, some sort of catalyst that fleshes it out. Then you need one where you're traveling to it. Maybe a third where you're actually finding the list, and then the bad guy behind it to stop it from happening again.
Look, sign me up.
You're like, I'm ready for this.
I think we have our next.
Hell yeah.
Already written.
Manifest.
Now, Paul, you put equal effort into the backstory of Deacon.
Yeah,
who was at one point the oldest of the group, isn't anymore.
Yeah, for a hot minute.
Now we're all peers.
Exactly. Yeah, and I thought, weirdly enough, like, and I think this lends credence to, your skill as a DM in that too, that we organically kind of closed a loop in my story, which I think, as like we just talked about with the other two, there's still parts that are kind of unknown, and there probably are still with Deacon too. But I think as far as like the main points I was hitting on, as far as like that loss of faith and kind of how he became sort of a wayward soul after that, it did kind of wrap up at the end with Kuro, right? Like, so that was kind of a pretty pivotal moment that I wasn't anticipating, that I thought was really cool that we got to experience, as far as like my last action as Deacon was acknowledging that, Kuro reminded me of, my deceased child, and then which then led me to think of my family and why I lost my faith to begin with, and then it ended with a pretty big chunk of damage with Lady Maria on my hip, right? So that was pretty sweet to see. Yeah, right. That, like, I thought that was a really cool moment for my character, at least, just to kind of have that kind of full circle moment happen at a very pivotal time in the story too. And it wasn't something that we had ever discussed beforehand, as far as like we were going to do that or anything. And I thought that was really cool, and kind of lends to the magic of D&D, right? Like you have all these ideas for your character, and then through just kind of the imagination and like the fun of it, it all kind of works itself out one way or the other, right? Sometimes you're punching your bear friend in the face, and sometimes you're channeling the
balance,
the loss of your family into a double damage shotgun shot to a wraith.
Well, it's so interesting to see how you all perceive the story, and like what are catalysts and what are good things. Like when you all were saying like Kuro's a trap, I'm like, he's the innocent kid who's gonna get you to his family. I'm like,
there's something weird about him. I didn't like it.
I mean, you weren't wrong.
Be too sure.
He was weird, and that's why, like, when you tried to touch him, you're right. He pulled away. He ran on top of the water.
Right.
Yep.
I picked up on that part, at least after you said it. I was like, oh, you were trying to get this the whole time. Like,
hey, look, I went literal with it. I was like, oh, cat creature. That's why he's nimble across the water.
Right, that was
nothing.
Let me be a jerk to you all in this moment.
Please,
I want you all to roll one more history check for me.
All
If you have it up, roll
right.
roll me a history check. I want to see if I can get some other details from you all.
Manifest.
Like, we need this.
Yeah.
We need this.
Hey.
Ooh,
Trap, we locked
13,
in again.
17, 12.
With the 13s.
Kuro may not be one that you are familiar with in a massive sense, but Kuro, in some of my other stories, is one of the, I guess you might say, acolytes or beings under a particular god of fate.
Makes a
And
lot of
she
sense.
seeks out individuals who interest her.
I can
Okay,
feel that.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
there is definitely a sense of, especially through when Kuro was talking, that we were being led down a path whether we liked it or not, right? And that's like
Mhm.
Spirit
that's pretty
guide.
meta. That was sweet, right? Like that was a very
Mhm.
meta thing to do, but I liked it.
This is a dangerous god, not one who often gives favors. They may, but they are just as likely to challenge you as well. So, you all now have a particular goddess following you all.
Hmm.
The
Very,
chosen ones.
very scary. Very scary.
Bro, we
No
this
big
might
deal.
oh,
No
we
big
about to
deal.
we about to enter prophecy territory. Stop
Yeah.
playing with me, bro.
Listen, there's challenges, but I'll be honest, this was not an initial thing that I had considered, but the way you all developed your characters, I thought I want to weave this in. This is something that this other character that I had developed would be interested in. What you all created was something to say, there's somebody to look out for. So, well
Very,
done.
yeah,
You
very
caught my
Hey, let's go.
I mean, that just means we got to continue the story.
I
That's
mean,
right. That's right. So there's always options where we can move forward when we find free time again.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the key.
We got to give Kuro some nice reading material, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Word.
Yeah.
He wants to be able to know your stories again.
he doesn't have a
Uh,
lot going for him otherwise. So.
Yeah.
No, y'all killed it. I want to thank you all again. And for those of you tuning in, I hope that you give a round of applause. Let us know in comments like how amazing they were. Coming in, D&D is always an experience of vulnerability, of being willing to share ideas that you have, of creating characters that you think are interesting or complex. And it's not easy to do, and it's certainly not easy to do on a live show where we're recording it, where we have people tuning in. And so the three of them today have done such an amazing job giving us beautifully crafted characters with backstories that are rich and worth diving into again. And that's the sign of really good characters, when you say, I want to come back and play them again. So I want to thank the three of you again. Thank you for tuning in. Shout out to our producer, Mudcat, for the music, our overlays. He's been setting everything up. You're a champ. Thank you so much. We'll see you all later.